Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Phrasing and Articulations Club. How are you doing? Good, very good. We have people coming in still, so I will take a few seconds more before we begin. So, we sent you a piece that some of you might have already, which is Volver, arranged by Nestor Marconi. So, we'll be looking into that piece. How are you, Chiyo? Good? Feeling good? Your shoulder? Good. So, yeah. London
Good.
was here. Yes.
Did you send that piece already? I
Yes,
can't
he
print
was.
anything that you're sending me. I think there's something wrong
It's
with my
okay.
computer.
It's
So
okay. You have the piece already before,
I
I
think,
think.
yeah, somewhere.
Yeah. Don't worry. We will
I don't.
talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
And here we have Norman. And so we worked all this time on phrasing and just the first two phrases of Olver, and it's time to apply what we learn in the phrasing club. So if you play the piece before, it doesn't matter because it will be a new way of looking at the piece. If you didn't play the piece before, it doesn't matter because it will be a new way of looking at the piece. So um, it's a simple arrangement done by Nestor Marconi. The melody, you will see it, is pretty much very straight, but that's where we get our skills to work. So, um, before we continue, do you hear a lot of noise or you hear me clear? Clear? Okay, because I have the heater going on and it has a fan that might be making noise. So how many of you played the piece before? Very good. So we are going to first of all look at the piece. Remember, we did this during the workshops that we have at the beginning, but we are going to look at it in more details this time. So the first thing that we are going to do is analyze the structure of the piece. And when we talk about the structure of the piece, we are talking about phrasings and parts and the whole piece as a unit. But then we had to see the character of each of the parts and see the character of each of the phrases. So with the beginning, we have no problem because we know this melody already. We have seen that before, and we have seen this one. Good. Now we are going to have the next phrase that we didn't see. Uh, so what is that I play? What I played is just one part of the piece. And then we have the second part, which is uh, So this piece is composed of two parts, right? But those two parts have phrases. So how many phrases do we have? We have the phrase A and phrase B that we know already, and then we have, and then and then it's not very conventional. um, if we count the amount of bars that we have in here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 bars for the first part. Normally, we will have only 16 bars because we have 4, 4, 4, 4. So that's four phrases of 4 bars each. Hello, London. Nice views you have in there.
Good morning. Yes, I'm on my way to somewhere, so I'm just gonna listen to
Good,
the lesson today. Yeah.
good. Okay. So everybody else, you don't have to wear the mask right now. He's the only one. Um, so we have 20 bars in this first part. Now, we have two phrases that we recognize already, and then we have the other phrases. How many phrases do we have in there in total? And then and then so we have three more phrases. Instead of having four phrases, we have five phrases in this part. Right? Yes? Everybody agrees with that or disagree? Okay. Now, what we had to find out is the direction of the piece. So, what's the difference between the first part and the second part in terms of a mood? Anybody has any ideas? Francis.
There's a dramatic shift in bar 9. Ba-da-da-dee-da-da-da-da.
Yes. So, normally you will have a phrase that is a question, quote unquote, and a phrase that is an answer, and then another question and another answer. But in here, we have two phrases that are very similar. The only change in the note that is playing the phrase. So, uh, right? That's the only thing that changes in the first two phrases. So it's not a question and an answer. It seems to be more like an entire phrase of 8 bars. So maybe you can say the same person making the comment in there. So instead of switching to an answer. But then we have the dramatic change, as Francis comment, which is. And then we have another phrase that is different. And then we have a third one that is even more different than the other three. So, between the first two, we have to figure out what things are we going to make different. What is the piece telling us? What is the change on the note that is playing the melody telling us? In the other three, we have variety already. So when we have to decide what to do with the piece, we have to think about variety and contrast to make the piece interesting. So the first part and the second part, now we are talking about parts. They have a lot of contrast because we start the second part with that's kind of more a singing part. It's more, if you think about when you go to a game and people are singing da dee da da dee da 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 da, so it's very lyrical. Okay, it's not as rhythmic as the other one that we had before. So we have a big contrast between the two parts. Now, what you have to find is how you're going to differentiate the first two, and we have a lot of elements for the first two. Now let's analyze what can we do with the third phrase. So I will play it one more time. That's all we have. So, anybody has any ideas what can we do with that phrase? Janine?
Um, just a little bit more aggression or accented or a little bit more passion or something.
Yes. So we can use a change of character
Yeah.
in the phrase. Do we need to add any big phrasing or any embellishments? Do we need embellishments in there? And when I say do we need, it doesn't mean that we cannot do it. I'm saying we don't need much of embellishments in there. We can play the melody very simply like it is written, but with a change of character. So now we are going to see how the change of character will work. So for example, if I play it as it is, it's very boring. But if I use articulation in here, that already changes the character from what we were playing before, which is very legato and very it's very connected, each one of the notes in the first two phrases. But this one already we can have that emotional change with the articulation, and then we can go back to the original, but we can shape the melody with dynamics. So we don't need to do more than putting a little bit of articulation and shaping the phrase with dynamics. So, and now, ba-da-da-da, we are giving direction to the melody, to the A. So we are going to go to that climax, da 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 dee, da 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 dee, and then we rest because we go to a different part. So can we do that? Can we play that phrase and just the melody? Then you can look at the notes and play whatever you want to play. If you want to play everything that is in there because you know it already, make sure that you can do the articulations. Okay, so what we are going to do is 3 4. Okay, let's do it. 3 4. Do you hear the dynamics? Were you able to play the dynamics? So let's do it again. 3 4. So what I want you to do is when you are going to bar 11, going with the, make sure that your body is driving you to the downbeat as well. It's not just what you're playing or you're pulling or you're, no, it's the whole weight of your body is going. And then when we finish the phrase, we have to be very relaxed. So that will be the same as having a sentence in a text. So we are going to conclude that phrase. So let's do it one more time. 3, 4, 1. I'm sorry. 3, 4. Good. Now let's look at the next phrase. If you have any questions, let me know. So uh, it's closing there. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're closing. You have the mark in there, closing or opening. Right now we are doing phrasing. If you know it, closing, play it closing. If not, it doesn't matter. Um, let me put the chat. How do you go down closing? Same way that we have to differentiate what is closing. The problem that we have when we are closing is the difference is that we are trying to help the bellows to close. When it's very natural to play opening without holding the hands, and when you have to close, should be the same. So the problem is that sometimes we try to push when we are playing. So now we are going to. So think about the dynamics more than is it closing or is it opening. You just go. And make sure that you don't do this when you open, when you change directions to the opening. Don't do that because we want to conclude the phrase. So if we are struggling with controlling the opening and closing, we might put an accent on that last note, and it's not good. So see, it's the same note. G sharp and A is the same note opening and closing. The other thing that you have to think is that we have a chord when we close. Naturally, a chord will sound louder than the note itself. So when the arranger did the arrangement, thought about that already, that you're going to go down with the chord. Make sure that this one is not attacked. And there is a transition in there, but we will talk about transitions later. Now let's talk about so this is a very interesting phrase. We have two parts two parts to this phrase. The first part is the one that goes to E. Now we are taking it to F. The second one goes to F. So when we thought that E was the climax of the phrase, then we find out that we have F. So F will be the climax of the phrase. So we have to go up. So we go up on E, but we reserve some volume or some weight to the F. So also the way that you approach the E it's important. So I'm giving the G, which is a downbeat already. Naturally, the first and third beat uh, has an accent, natural accent. But then when we go up, remember the accents on the up. This is not an accent, but we are going to increase the volume. And we let it die in there, but we are going to go to the climax of the F, and then we will conclude the phrase in a very relaxed way. So if I play it again, um, I'm not playing the connections because we will talk about that later. Now the G sharp is already one step that we are going to do to go higher and higher. Ta-da-bing. We have it on the downbeat. So we get here, and now we escalate more. Ba-dee-da-da-da. So let's play that part a couple of times. So we will play 1, 2, 3, and okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. And again, if you want to do it closing, let's do it one more time and I will play it closing. It will be the same. 1, 2, 3. Good? Okay, so that's all the time we have for now. But everybody understands the concept of what we are doing. Do you have any questions? No questions? So what we are trying to figure out is, do we have, first of all, we are going to work with dynamics. Then we are going to work with articulations. And lastly, we'll work with embellishments. So if embellishments are not needed, we will not use it. But first, we will create contrast with dynamics, and we will create direction with dynamics. Then we will create contrast and direction with articulation. And if needed, we will use embellishments. Okay? Your homework is, if you didn't play the piece before, try to learn the notes, because we will have to play it with the left hand, and that's when things get complicated, because we are going to try to phrase on top of something that we are doing on the left hand that will be straight many times. Okay? So we are not going to play the whole piece, just practice up to the first page. And this will, you have a week for it. Right? So thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you in a few minutes for the variation club. So see you later. Bye bye.